guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. We are finally coming at you with the mid-year freakout tag. Am I a month late? Yes. Am I still gonna do this? Also yes. And I was kind of contemplating not doing it, but then Katie tagged me, so I have no excuse. I'll link her video down below if you want to go watch her tag video. It was super good, and she's the one who gave me the kick in the butt to still upload this even though it's late. Even though it's late, it's fine. So grab a drink and grab a snack. This is gonna be a little bit longer because I'm sure you are not surprised, but I could not just pick one book for every single answer. So we got a lot of books to go through, so let's do it. Okay, we're starting with like the hardest question ever. Best book of the year so far. Again, couldn't pick just one. We've got the top three because I really like can't decide between these three books. I don't care. So the first one, and I'm pretty sure I read all of these in January too, which is interesting, but here we are. Okay, Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. I contemplated like still having this on here because the other books in the series have not lived up to this one. So I'm like, was this first one a fluke? Was I just like delusional when I read it? I don't know, but like there's just something about this one. Like I still think about it to this day. The audiobook was amazing, and I just love the dynamic of the male main character being a boxer and the female main character being like a nutritionist slash like cafe owner. And I love the small town that they're in. I love the history from their past of like their families having like drama with each other that they don't even like know all the details of, and just like them uncovering that while also falling in love. It was just perfect. It was perfect. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but this has got to be in my top books of the year for sure, hands down. Next we've got Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. Oh, Tessa Bailey, she's back and better than ever. I was a little worried with some of her newer releases, I'm not gonna lie, but this one brought her back. And this is a golf romance, which I think that also gave it like a special place in my heart because I grew up in a household where my dad loved golf, so I was like watching it all the time. So it gave me like the nostalgia of that part of it, but then also the romance was just chef's kiss. Like the spicy times were so good. I just love the dynamic with him being like an angry golfer who's like trying to revamp his career, and she was like his #1 fan, but he basically like ruined the relationship with her, and now he's basically like groveling and like trying to get her back in his good graces. And not even romantically at first. Like he really is just like, she's just such a good person. Like why have I been such an ass to her? Like I really need to like fix myself for her. And everything about this is perfection. I think if you were to ask me right now, like if I had to pick one of these top three to be like my ultimate favorite, it might be this one. Will I change my mind in the next hour? Probably, but as of right now I'm kind of leaning towards this one. Number 3 spot is Devil of Dublin by B.B. Easton. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did. I listened to this on audio, and real quick, I feel like having 2 of my top 3 books be audiobooks is also like very fitting for kind of like a mid-year check-in wrap-up situation, because this year really is the year of audiobooks for me, so I feel like it's very fitting. Anyway, Devil of Dublin by B.B. Easton. It's like the combination of the 2 things I love most in romance, right? I feel like the first half of the book is more so focused when they were younger. You've got like the quiet, broody, tortured hero, and then you've got the more sunshiny female main character. And it's like childhood friends to lovers in the first half, but then like something terrible happens and they're ripped apart from each other. And like, I think decades go by before they're reunited. It's set in Ireland. He has the Irish accent. The second half of the book, it almost turns into like a dark romance in a way, and there's kind of like mafia vibes. I know, it's weird. It doesn't make sense when I explain it, but when you read it, it's done so flawlessly you don't even realize that the story is really like turning into something else. It just kind of happens naturally, and it's just like really well done. And there's even like a fantastical kind of like magical realism side story going on too, with like the lore of the land in Ireland that they're at when they first meet. yeah, I don't know, it was just really refreshing. I never read anything like this, and yeah, this has got to be in my top books for sure. All right, next we have best sequel of the year so far, and I'm gonna go, okay, again, I have 3. I'm sorry, I am the way I am, okay? Just is what it is at this point. First is Watch Your Mouth by Candy Steiner. I didn't even read the first book because everything I heard about it, I was just like, not even interested. But this sequel was so good. Definitely 5 stars. Another audiobook as well. Yeah, this is just one of those where I felt very seen reading this. Like, I just felt very connected to these characters. I just love like the emotional aspect of it. But it was also at the same time like very fun and lighthearted. And it's a hockey romance. And I think it's... I think she's like the sister to one of his friends that plays on the same team as him or something, if I'm not mistaken. But it's like them going on like a road trip together too. So I feel like this is like perfect for summer, or if you just like road trip romances, this is great. And yeah, it just made me remember everything I love about Candy Steiner, because I know right now she's kind of pivoting to this hockey romance series and is like a little bit different from her usual angsty romances that she does, but I feel like this had a little bit of hint of that. So I loved it. I read the 3rd book too, and the 3rd book just wasn't as good as this one. So that's why I really wanted to highlight this book for this question, because it was really the fact that it was like the sequel that stood out amongst like the entire series. So I feel like it had to be mentioned here. Next is Homewrecker by Sarah Kate. This is the 2nd book in a series. I don't remember what the series is called, but it's fine. The first book was good, but this was a 5 star. Like, this was perfection. I still think about it. It was just such a unique premise. It's like a marriage in trouble situation, but then you have this other male character coming in to kind of like shake things up, and it's almost like he has a connection with each of them, but then he also wants to help them fix their marriage. And it just kind of goes from there. I like how the 2 male characters also have like history together here. I don't know, it was just really interesting. Like, it's not what I expected. The book is called Homewrecker. I thought it was just gonna be like a love triangle romance. I didn't really think anything of it, but this was like super unique, and yeah, this will definitely live rent-free in my brain for the foreseeable future. I know people also say like sequel doesn't have to be the 2nd book, it can be like any new installment in a series. So I'm just gonna shout out the Perfectly Imperfect series by Neva Altaj, mainly because there's like 9 books in this series out right now. The 10th book is gonna come out. She's doing a 2nd gen series, so like there's a lot of books in here, right? People always rave about the series. I read the 1st book and I was not impressed. Thankfully, I kept going. Every single book since then has been amazing. Like, I definitely haven't rated anything lower than 4 stars, except for the 1st book. The 1st book was not good for me. But all the rest of them have been like top tier mafia romances in my opinion. And I think if you're someone who loves a good bingeable series, this is for you. If you love mafia, this is for you. If you love dark romance, this is for you. Like, there's good disability representation in here. Really good, really good. And again, don't judge it by the 1st book, because the 1st book I feel like was written by a different person. I don't know who she is. But every single book that came after, amazing, perfection. Okay, next is new releases that you still need to read. Again, I have 3. I know. Ocean of Sin and Starlight by Karina Halley. This is a spin-off of A Ship of Bones and Teeth, which if you have been on my channel for a while, you probably know how I feel about A Ship of Bones and Teeth. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's like a dark Little Mermaid / Pirates of the Caribbean inspired romance, and this is a spin-off of it. And I think it also involves like a priest and a vampire somehow mixed in with this mermaid siren world. So I'm very intrigued. Still need to read it. It's on my Kindle waiting for me. Too many books, you know what I mean? And then I also need to read Honeycut by C.R. Simone. This is the next book in her Lioness trilogy. I'm kind of putting it off because the next book I don't think comes out until next year. So I'm just like, I think it ends on a cliffhanger too. So I don't know if I want to do that to myself. But the book is on my shelf. It's waiting for me. So I still need to read it. This is an MMF romance with like a marriage of convenience plus their bodyguard. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if I get around to it. And then I also still need to read Julie Soto's new book. I loved her first book, Forget Me Not. That was also, that almost was a contender for best book of the year. But there's just too many great books. It's on my 6-star list of the year, so I want to read its other one by Julie Soto very, very soon. I already have it on my shelves. I'm definitely intimidated and worried that it's not going to live up to the first book, so kind of putting it off. But you know, I've heard good things though, so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Okay, next question. Most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. First we have Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. These are two characters that we've kind of been like teased about the entire time. It's very much like hate to love situation, so I'm very excited and I just can't get over these covers. They're perfect. They're perfect. But yeah, as you can tell, cowboy, small town, romance, what's not to love? Okay, I don't even know when these come out. I didn't write down the dates. Sorry. But they come out sometime in the rest of the year. Holly Cass also has a new book coming out. There's no cover yet. I think it's supposed to come out in fall, but I don't know if she has it on Amazon yet. But she has been posting teasers on her Instagram, and this is a second chance romance, and it has a lot of like 2000s nostalgia, and I'm just so here for it. I think it's also a hockey romance too, which, like, come on, what else do you need? Second chance, hockey, and 2000s nostalgia. Like, that's the trifecta, I just gotta say. And you guys know I love Holly Cass. She is the best at writing like emotionally deep, like mental health representation, but also being able to have it be like fun and steamy at the same time. I don't know, she's a wizard. I don't know how she does it, but I'm excited. And the last new release I'm excited about for the second half of the year is The Devil Himself by B.B. Easton. This is the follow-up to Devil of Dublin, one of my top books of the year. So I'm very intrigued. I have no idea what this is about. I don't even know who it's about. I kind of want to go in blind because I went into the first book blind and it worked out really well for me. So I'm not looking up anything. I'm just going to go into it blind when it comes out. I'm going to listen to it on audio. You better believe it because we got to have the accent, okay? It helps. It helps. Next, the most disappointing book of the year. If you were part of our book club in June, you would know. Letters to Molly by Daphne Perry. This is the first book club book that we had where I was like really upset about it. Like, I really wanted to love it, but it just like rubbed me the wrong way. So I don't know. Again, if you want my full thoughts, I will link the live show where we had it on Katie's channel. We talked about our full thoughts about the book. It's a marriage in trouble, second chance situation. Well, I don't know if you can call it a marriage in trouble because they did get divorced. I think it's been like 6 years since they've gotten divorced, and you know, some stuff is going on in their lives. I personally just didn't like the thing that the author made happen to get them back together personally, like that. I think that's what rubbed me the wrong way, but I don't know. But other people really liked it, so don't just take my opinion. You can still read it for yourself. I'm still gonna give Daphne Perry another try because this is the only book I've read by her. Katie really loved the first book in this series. I think it's called The Birthday List. So that's free on Audible. So I'm going to listen to that, see if like maybe I like that one better. And then I can see if I want to continue like the other series that Daphne Perry has. So we'll see. But this was a disappointment for me because normally I would love a second chance, marriage in trouble, small town. Like, that's usually everything I love. But this one just didn't do it for me. Next we have biggest surprise of the year. Again, I have 3. I actually talked about 2 of these in my June wrap-up, so you may already know why these are surprises. But first was the breakup tour. This is inspired by Taylor Swift. I'm not a Swiftie. Like, I respect Taylor Swift. I admire her. She's super talented. I love her. But her music just like isn't normally what I go to. It's just like my musical preference is not that. That's all. So I thought this was going to be like too Swiftie for me. So I did not think I was going to like it, but Emily and Austin were like, girl, trust us. Like, it's us. And it was still really good. I was obsessed with it. I was like giggling like a schoolgirl reading this. The next one I talked about in my June wrap-up was Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm. This is a monster romance with a merman. And normally monster romance is like not my thing, but I think because I just love mermaids so much, like this was not that hard of a sell for me. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I definitely want to continue reading the series. The other one that was a big surprise for me, kind of in the same vein, is the Twilight of Ember series by Tessa Hale. This is a dragon shifter romance series. It's a why choose. And again, Dragon Shifter, not my thing, so I was not going to read this at all. But I saw so many people raving about it. Like, I did not see one negative review. So I was like, okay, maybe this is the one I need to try, okay? So I did. I got them on audio, which I'm very glad that I did, because each character has a different narrator, so I feel like it really sells the why choose element, because you can really differentiate between all the male characters and her. So it was really good. I still have to read the third book. The third book just came out, so I have that downloaded on my phone, and I will be listening to it very soon. But the first two books were a really good time. They're not like top tier, like 6-star reads or anything, but I don't know, I just love it. I just couldn't get enough. Couldn't get enough. Okay, next question is fave new author. Again, I have 3. I can't be stopped, okay? First is Jennifer Hartman. I read her age gap romance called Older, and I've been nervous to read books by Jennifer Hartman just because a lot of them seem very dark, more on the like taboo emotional side. I just didn't know if I could handle them, to be fully honest with you. So I figured this one was a safe bet because it's just an age gap romance. Like I could do that, right? Her writing is beautiful, very beautifully done. Very, like, her prose is just very unique, and I was definitely like swept away by her writing. So this is definitely, obviously she's not a new author, but she's new to me. So I definitely wanted to highlight her with this question because I really want to read more books by her, because her writing style like really stood out to me. Next we have Jessica Joyce. I read You With a View earlier this year, and it was one that I checked out from the library because I didn't have high hopes, and I ended up having to buy the physical copy like immediately because I just wanted to annotate so many things. I think the way that she wrote about dealing with grief, and I love it was kind of like a twist on the fact that they had history together, but also kind of like a secret identity situation. Yeah, I thought this was just going to be a cheesy rom-com. I didn't have high hopes. Her writing just really sold it. Like, I think her writing is what made this story more impactful for me. And I think this is her debut novel too. So I think this counts for new author and new to me. So it's a double whammy. Then we have Stephanie Archer. I read her 2 hockey romance books. I just thought they were just gonna be regular, schmegular, run-of-the-mill hockey romances. Didn't have high hopes, but they like really blew me away. It's just something about her writing just like made it so bingeable, and it just felt like it was a step above all the rest of the hockey romances that everyone has been posting about lately. And again, she didn't have any like crazy plot twists or anything. It's not like, I don't know, it was just something about the way that she wrote about the characters and what they were going through, and like the banter was really good. I don't know, I was very intrigued. And I saw that she has another series that it's like, I think it's a small town romance series, and I really want to keep reading her stuff because these were really good. Next question is newest fictional crush. I have 3. Well, technically it might be more than 3 people. Nova Darkmoor from The Puck Secret by Gian Wright. I don't even know like what to say, but like Gian Wright does the best dirty talk, and Nova Darkmoor can get it, okay? Like the things that this man does, and he almost gives like dark romance vibes, but like this is not a dark romance, but there's just something about him that just gives you that like gritty dark edge to it, and I love that. I love that. What does that say about me? Let's not talk about it. Okay, next, another hockey player. Apparently I have a thing for hockey players this year. The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. Ryder. He's the guy on the team who has like a bad past from getting into fights. He's kind of like the bad boy. But deep down, he's a softie. He really is a softie. And again, I love that. I love that in a man. I'm sorry. I just do. Then we have, it's hard for me to pick just one, so we're just gonna talk about both characters from Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Claire and Delilah. They are everything that sapphic dreams are made of, okay? You have Claire, who's kind of like the nerdy, but also she like dresses in like pinup style, right? She's a single mom. She's also like kind of the mom to her friend group. Like she just really cares about everybody. She's just so kind. But when it comes to her loved ones, like she could be feisty. She could be feisty. And then we've got Delilah, who's kind of like the broody, artsy type with a rough past, very snarky, the tattoos. Like, come on, come on. What more could you ask for? You know what I mean? Okay, next question. Newest fave character. I have two. First is Truly from Truly Madly Deeply. If you watch my June wrap up, I also talked about this, but there's just something about the way that the author wrote about bisexuality in a hetero relationship that I really related to. I felt very seen reading what Truly was going through in terms of like not knowing what to think about love because of just so many relationships in her life around her kind of like failing. So she's like, what does that mean for me? Like everything I thought I knew about love doesn't make sense anymore. She also struggles with, you know, being bisexual even though she's been in a long-term heterosexual relationship, and like what does that mean? Am I not gay enough to be represented in the Pride community? Like I've definitely struggled with that. So yeah, I just felt very seen reading Truly's character. I felt like I was reading an autobiography, okay? So I have a soft spot for her. She is definitely one of my favorite characters that I read this year, hands down. And the next one is from Wild Love by Elsie Silver, but it's not one of the main characters. So one of the things from this book is the main character finds out that he is a father because years ago he donated sperm. He did it like when he was younger to get money for concert tickets. So clearly he didn't think about the fact that like years from now he would have a kid, right? Because they don't always know when their sperm gets used. So this girl just like shows up on his doorstep and it's like, hey, you're my dad, I need your help. So honestly, Cora, his long lost daughter, she is my spirit animal. I love how sarcastic she is, and just like everything about her character was just perfect for me. I feel like she is what made this book great. I loved her more than I loved like the romance between the two main characters, honestly. I feel like she was just so great. Yeah, and I love how she like bonded with her new dad. Second dad, I don't know what you want to call him. She bonded with him over music because he's a producer, and she like has a soft spot for music and the artistry of it all. So they kind of bonded over that, and it was just great. She, you know, she did something really scary with finding him so that she could help take care of her mother who's going through a really hard time. And yeah, she just like really stepped up for her family, and she was like unashamed about it. And I think it was great to like see her kind of like being in a world where she could be herself. So I really loved her character. Okay, next we have Book That Made You Cry. First is Unbreakable by Melanie Harlow. This is a reread for me. I don't think I cried when I read this the first time, but there's something about when I reread it now, it just really hit me in the feels. This one is about two people who have been divorced, and as a child of a divorced couple, I loved the way that they talked about that in here, because the female main character is a single mom now, and it talks about, you know, like what it's like for the kids too, going through the divorce and seeing their mom after the divorce is over, and then seeing if she's gonna get into a new relationship or not. Like that whole dynamic just like really hit me in my feels. So this was definitely a tearjerker for me. Another book that made me cry was Where We Promise by Ashley Munoz. This is the third book in her Stone Riders Motorcycle Club series. And this has the pregnancy trope, and it's not his baby. And that's not usually my thing, but this was so emotional. It was one of those where they actually met first when they were younger, but then she ended up getting with his friend at the time. That's who the baby is with. Long story short, he was an asshole. So now this guy is kind of trying to like protect her and help her get a better life for her and her child. And just the way this man steps in and just like is there for her. And it was so emotional, like getting those flashback scenes to like him watching her be with somebody else. Oh, it was just heartbreaking, but in the best way, in the best way. I love this book so much. This is probably my favorite book of the series. I still need to read the last one though, so TBD. Okay, next is Book That Made You Happy. I have two. We have The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I listened to this on audio. It was such a fun summer romance, and I think it takes place in like some kind of like tropical vacation destination. I can't remember where exactly it is, like Fiji or something like that. And it's with this like really rich family that they're like trying to impress, and the female main character is just like a wild card. And the banter was just really great. Yeah, I don't know. It was really fun. It was really fun. I gave it 5 stars, and it just made me happy the entire time I was listening to it. The next one is Joanna Shupe, Prince of Broadway. I was just giddy the entire time reading this. I love the dynamic of this historical romance because it's kind of like, I think it still takes place in like the late 1800s. Maybe, I don't even think it takes place in the 1900s quite yet, but it's like the tail end of the 1800s. So it takes place in New York, and casinos are like just now becoming a thing, but only males are allowed to go to casinos. And gambling is still very much frowned upon, but it's kind of one of those things where like if you pay the cops off, then they'll let you do your thing. Well, the female main character of this book, she's the middle child, and the middle child of 3 girls, and it's still a society where you're supposed to be married off, and like that's your purpose as a woman, is to get married and have babies and make the home and all that kind of stuff. And she's not about that. She wants to make her own life. So she's like, you know what, I'm gonna open my own casino, and it's gonna be just for women, and I'm gonna be mentored by the best casino owner in New York City so that I can make something for myself. And she does. But there's just something about the dynamic between these two. And yeah, Joanna Shupe writes the best banter in her historical romances. If you're new to historical romances like I was, I think she is the great author to start with, because I feel like they're still very reminiscent of modern books, but then you still get like some historical aspects without it being too stuffy. You know what I mean? So highly recommend. I was smiling the entire time reading this. Okay, next question is most beautiful book. And I have to feature this book again. Actually, I don't think I've shown this on my YouTube channel. I think I only showed it on Instagram when I got it at Barnes & Noble. Oh my god, this is gorgeous. This is One Cursed Rose by Rebecca Zanetti. Have I read anything by Rebecca Zanetti? No. Did I know anything about this book when I saw it at Barnes & Noble? No. Did I still buy it immediately? Absolutely. I just couldn't resist. And then once I read what it was about, I was like, okay, I definitely have to read it. It's almost like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I believe. Yeah, it's a forbidden and taboo modern twist on Beauty and the Beast. The first in a seductive new dark romance series set in a world where information is power, and those who control the flow of information live like gods. This kind of reminded me of the Scarlett St. Clair series that's inspired by Hades and Persephone. Oh, look at the inside. It's so pretty. They were so detailed with this book design. Like, they really put a design on every aspect. The inside. And then it's got like the roses, but there's also like code in there. So that kind of shows the whole like information is power kind of aspect of it. I know that I think they both are part of like media mogul type families or something like that. This dust jacket is also reversible. There's another side. So yeah, I love how it's kind of like a modern-y side, and then you got like the vintage-y side. I thought that was really cool. So yeah, I'm excited. My stepmom has read other books by this author, so her other books have been on my list for a while. I just haven't been able to pick any of them up. So when I saw this, I just couldn't resist. It's got to be one of the most beautiful books that I've gotten this year. Okay, and last question. What is your TBR for the rest of the year? Okay, we've got a couple. Speaking of Scarlett St. Clair, I still need to read the last book, A Touch of Chaos. I've been putting it off because I don't want the series to be over. So I'm also scared about like what's gonna happen, because I feel like it's gonna be like very action packed. There's gonna be a lot of death, I'm sure, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that. Okay, I'm just not ready. But hopefully sometime this year I can read it so that I can close that series out. Same thing, I need to read A Court of Silver and Flame by Sarah J. Maas. Again, it's the last book that's out right now in the ACOTAR series, so I just like don't want it to be over. So I've read everything else. It's just this one book. I'm just like, do I really need to? But like, I really should. So that is on my TBR for the rest of the year. I even have the graphic audio already downloaded on my phone. Like, I just keep putting it off. So I don't know. I'll get there eventually. I also really want to read more of the Black Dagger Brotherhood by R. Ward. I haven't really read any these past few months. I think I've only read like one this year, but there's like over 20 books in that series, and I really want to read more of them. So I'm gonna try and see, maybe I can read like 2 a month or something like that for the rest of the year. I think that's a good number, because I don't want to binge them back to back, because I do want to kind of savor them just because of how unique they are. And right now 20 books seems like a lot, but I know when I get to the tail end I'm gonna be like, oh my god, it's gonna be over. So I'm kind of like torn, but I do want to read like a few more because I definitely have been slacking on that series. Other than that, if you want to go back and watch my 24 books I want to read in 2024 video, I have it linked above in the cards. I'm very behind on that list. I've only read 9 of those books and I'm filming this like at the end of July, so I should have read over 12 by now, and I definitely am not close to that. So yeah, if you want to see other books that I really should read, there's that video. But that's gonna be it for this tag. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a like, leave a comment down below telling me your favorite book that you've read this year so far, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my future videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye.